You are watching India Global. I'm Gaurie Dwivedi. As always, we start with headlines. First, Pakistan bid to attack 15 cities in India has been foiled. India preempts Pakistan's attack plan. Srinagar, Chandigarh, Amritsar were on target. As the MEA says that 16 innocent lives in India have been lost due to heavy Pakistan shelling. Kandahar hijack mastermind has been killed in the Indian strikes. That's the claim made by BJP. A big win for India. World Bank Group President Ajay Banga has met Prime Minister Modi after India looks to financially squeeze Pakistan on multiple fronts. Indus Water Treaty has World Bank as the signatory. Russian President Vladimir Putin welcomes dear friend Xi Jinping to Kremlin. Xi Jinping has hailed confidence in the China-Russia ties. Which way this will pivot, India Global will decode. Iranian Foreign Minister in India days after a mediation offer. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar says that India-Iran cooperation has progressed. Vladimir Putin's three-day ceasefire comes into effect. Ukraine claims that Russia is violating the three-day ceasefire that's been in place for the Victory Day celebrations. Big story that we are tracking. Operation Sindoor is now fully in its second phase. The first phase saw India attacking and specifically targeting the terror infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, those 9 specific locations, in a matter of 25 minutes. Since then, now there is a very important detailed statement that was shared by the Defence Ministry, followed by a briefing by External Affairs Ministry along with the Defence Forces, talking about how Pakistan has tried to hit 15 Indian cities. They tried to do so in northern and northern-western towns of India, across Jammu Kashmir, Gujarat, Rajasthan, several other states, all border towns, all border states. And India responded adequately. I want to first play out this soundbite, and then we talk more on this.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर पर 7 मई 2025 को हुई प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस के दौरान भारत ने अपनी प्रतिक्रिया को केंद्रित, संतुलित और गैर उत्तेजक बताया था। यह विशेष रूप से स्पष्ट किया गया था कि पाकिस्तानी सैन्य ठिकानों को निशाना नहीं बनाया गया। साथ ही दोहराया गया कि भारत में किसी भी सैन्य लक्ष्य पर हमले का उचित जवाब दिया जाएगा। 7 से 8 मई 2025 की रात को पाकिस्तान ने उत्तरी और पश्चिमी भारत में स्थित कई सैन्य ठिकानों को, जैसे कि अवंतीपुरा, श्रीनगर, जम्मू, पठानकोट, अमृतसर, कपूरथला, जालंधर, लुधियाना, आदमपुर, भटिंडा, चंडीगढ़, नाल, फलौदी, उत्तरलाई और भुज पर ड्रोन और मिसाइलों से हमला करने का प्रयास किया। इन हमलों को इंटीग्रेटेड काउंटर यूएस ग्रिड और वायु रक्षा प्रणालियों द्वारा निष्क्रिय कर दिया गया।
That was Colonel Sophia Qureshi clearly mentioning what Pakistan tried to do in the intervening night of 7th and 8th of May. 15 Indian cities were the targets. Pakistan failed miserably. What next? As far as Operation Sindoor is concerned, it's now in its second phase. Mohammad Ghazali joins me live to talk more about what's the situation like on ground. Ghazali, first of all, tell us what is the exact location that you are joining us from. Talk to us about what's the situation there on ground, given the fact that Pakistan made attempts on 15 different cities to attack the military installations.
See, Gaurie, right now I'm reporting from Rajouri. It's a bordered city, and just behind me behind the hills is the international border, just around 1 to 2 kilometers from here. Heavy shelling has been happening for the last 3-4 days. Fortunately, yesterday it was very quiet. There was no shelling in this particular district or near this particular line of control, but in the border district and in the neighboring district of Poonch, which also shares international border with Pakistan, there have been heavy shelling going on for the last 4 5 days, and many people have been injured. There has been casualty as well. The injured have been referred to the local hospital in Jammu, in Rajouri, and other districts. Actually, the scene over here in Rajouri and Punj, in particular in both of these border districts, there is an airy calm and silence, but the local residents are very upset and agitated with Pakistan because it is deliberately targeting the civilian residences or the centers, houses, residences and civilian installations. And Indian Army certainly is trying to thwart all those attempts, as a statement by the External Affairs Ministry, and even before that the Defence Ministry issued a statement clarifying that how yesterday the India's aerial defence system managed to thwart all the aerial threats from Pakistan, which was trying to attack around 15 to 16 Indian cities, including the northern city of Amritsar, Chandigarh and other districts in Jammu and Kashmir as well. Right now, there are news reports are coming in every night after the sunset. There is an anticipation that Pakistan will continue to attack the civilian areas here in Rajouri, Poonch, in other districts of Jammu and Kashmir, as well as there are continuous aerial threats in the areas of Amritsar, Gurdaspur, Batala. These are the border towns of Punjab as well. As far as External Affairs Ministry and its statement is concerned, which is right now going around in Delhi, they have clearly said that how Pakistan stands exposed, not just by harboring these terror elements inside its territory, but also even in the past instances, whenever Pakistan says that it wants independent investigation, even after the Pahalgam attack at international forums, Pak's foreign minister was quoted saying that they want an independent and joint investigation with India. The External Affairs Ministry has clarified that even in Pathankot and 26/11 Mumbai attack, Pakistan had made similar demands. India had gathered enough evidence and shared it with Pakistan, but it did no action. It did take no action against any of those perpetrators of those attacks. So even today, after Pahalgam attack, when Pakistan says that it was an act of aggression by India and India has not shared any evidence, it is certainly trying to look for escape route and not take any responsibility. The External Affairs Ministry also claimed that how Pakistan's entire state apparatus was involved and they were present at the funeral of all those terrorists who were killed in aerial strikes by India.
Indeed, Mohammad Ghazali, appreciate you joining us to take us through what it's like really on ground at a time when Pakistan has been indulging in two things parallelly. Nefarious designs in terms of trying to attack Indian cities, which was thwarted by India. Second, heavy shelling on the LOC to target the innocent civilians. And the third, run a misinformation campaign, which is why we are now going to put forth those big questions of Operation Sindoor as it now enters its second phase. First, is this a moment of introspection as far as Pakistan is concerned, given the fact that its lies has been busted? There is proof. India has proof of those drones and missiles that it tried to attack the Indian cities with. Second question, will Pakistan now reconsider as far as this whole strategic calculus is concerned? And third, it's a larger question, probably yet to be seen how it will unfold, but at some point of time we can talk about path towards de-escalation. Remember, India has been very clear that their actions were non-escalatory in nature. It was precise in nature. It was only to target the terror infrastructure. Look at the response that came from the Pakistani side. Attacking military installations in 15 Indian cities meant to have a heavy collateral damage in terms of civilians. Let's get in General Shankar Prasad to talk more on this, and we'll also have General Dwivedi to understand what this means. General Dwivedi, Operation Sindoor has entered its second phase. Explain to us, talk to us about the next 24 to 48 hours and what they are expected to look like.
Firstly, thanks for having me on your show. Well, the issues that you have flagged are very, very critical. Let me just give you the little background that so far, Pakistan proxy war for last 3.5 decades. India had responded only as counter-infiltration on the LOC and hinterland by having CI grade. But for 2 strikes, we did the Uri, the shallow strikes and the Balakot. But I think after Pahalgam, the whole narrative has changed, Gaurie. The Indian government has now taken a considered stand. that this has to stop, means Pakistan has to be deterred and the proxy war has to be defeated. Now, after the number of diplomatic measures India took, on 6, 7 night came Operation Sindoor, which was expected. And it has been a very, very successful operation because India only went for terrorist infrastructure and we struck 9 of the terrorist bases. But Pakistan response was quite expected as it has unfolded because Pakistan could not have carried out any retaliatory strike against India as far as the terrorist infrastructure is concerned because India does not have any terrorist infrastructure. So they went down to escalate now at level 2, whereon you rightly brought out that they targeted 15 Indian cities and especially our military infrastructure, our air defense assets. And now that was the second, escalation. But India has then again responded because we had to undertake very specific action. And
Yes,
India strikes are available. They have been
absolutely.
hit at the Lahore, at the Rawalpindi, and therefore I think situation as it stands today is Pakistan, which is
Hmm.
escalating. It is Pakistan which is actually portraying the wrong narrative. And I think what I expect is because their hands are very tight as far as conventional response is concerned, they would escalate LOC, which you rightly brought out. They escalated.
They are
Heavy
doing that,
weapons are
sir.
being
They are
fired with
doing that.
artillery.
Women and children have lost their lives. Stay with me, sir, because I want to take in
Yes.
the opening comments from General Prasad here as well to understand that what are we looking at going forward from a 24, 48-hour point of view, sir. The fact that Pakistani missiles and drones have been recovered by India in the 15 cities that it has targeted, and that's proof of what Pakistan is trying to do in terms of escalating this. How do you read this, and what do you think should be the kind of preparations? Of course, they are already in place, but I'm saying what is it that our viewers should be made aware of in terms of the next 24, 48 hours?
First of all, we must understand what is the objective of the Indian government as far as this particular Pahalgam incident is concerned. Our primary objective and aim is to remove terrorism, target terrorists, their leaders and their backers. That phase 1 has been completed. We have attacked the Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters in Bahawalpur. We have attacked Muridke headquarters of Lashkar-e-Taiba, and a large number of terrorists and their infrastructure has been destroyed there. Thereafter, all the other areas which are just across the line of control have also been eliminated wherever these terrorist camps are. 9 of those, you are aware of those. The point is this, and I must understand it very clearly. Bahawalpur is a very major military cantonment which has a corps headquarters and several brigades located there. We were next to it. The Bahawalpur camp of the Jaish-e-Mohammed is next to that military camp. We could have easily struck that military camp and destroyed it just as we destroyed the Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters. But we didn't do it because that's not our objective. The objective was to eliminate terrorism. We've done that. Similarly, in Mudirke, we have got Lahore cantonment next door to it, where there's another corps headquarters and a large cantonment. We could have easily destroyed that as well, but we did not. We went in only for the terrorist outfit. So please understand, this is the policy of India to eliminate terrorism and their leaders. That is going to continue. When, now, today, tomorrow, I don't even know. As far as the response from Pakistan is concerned, I was pretty sure that this response is bound to come from Pakistan. And therefore, when I, as a civilian, retired fellow sitting at home, realizes this, then surely the government of India and the armed forces of India would have realized it and factored it in to their overall military plan. Please remember, when any professional military makes an operational plan, they make an offensive plan specifically to the targets that they've chosen and simultaneously prepares for the defensive plan. It is not that you suddenly go on the offensive without having to think of defense. So there is an offensive content of a plan and there is a defensive content of a plan. The defensive content very clearly indicates as to what are the measures that I need to take should the enemy react, and the possibility is the enemy must react. The professional armies, whenever they do any operations, they war game it. They war game it from the point of view of the enemy and they war game it from their own point. So there is something called a syndicate, if I may call,
Yes.
which works as an enemy syndicate. And if I unleash my plan the way I plan to do a particular operation, the syndicate also responds
Right.
And we know exactly what the Pakistanis are going to respond.
Sir, I want to
And
ask one thing,
obviously,
sir.
They were going to respond.
Absolutely.
So,
I want to ask one thing, sir, which is very
Yes.
important, which is the response that came in from India in Lahore. General Prasad, respond to that. How do you see that, the significance of it? Explain to us.
See, there is a lot of internal dissension in Pakistan. Lahore is a military cantonment. It's got a core headquarters. They've got a number of other formations, including artillery and armor. Now, that is one response they can give across the border, with closest border point, and Amritsar and all these towns are next door to it. You also had a report to say there has been a bomb blast in Lahore today. Who's done that? That also we had to take cater. There is a bomb blast in Karachi. There is a bomb blast in Rawalpindi. So several locations have been internally by some agencies, perhaps their own terrorists, have done this. Therefore, what about Lahore? Lahore has been factored in. And all our defensive measures across the line of control, across the international border, are ready for what I would term as an offensive defense. So
All
offensive
right, sir.
defense means that you are carrying out.
I'm sorry,
You
sir,
are
I have to
deploying
take
such
a break.
weaponry,
I
such
understand what you're saying.
technology.
Extremely important. Operation Sindoor second phase has begun. What is it that India needs to be prepared for? What are the milestones that we should look at? Most importantly, the next 24 hours, what are the preps that we need to put in place? All that and more. I'm going to slip into a break, come back on the other side, talk more about how India is trying to squeeze Pakistan, not just on political and military aspects, but on economic aspects as well. The big economic squeeze. We come back and talk more. Stay with us. Pakistan is going to be squeezed by India on multiple fronts. Remember, India has put up a very firm diplomatic maneuvers against it, reached out to the Global Committee of Nations. Parallelly, the strikes on its terror infrastructure are meant to send a strong message that India will not tolerate terror. And the third important aspect is the financial squeeze, where India is reaching out to global lenders, multilateral institutions to see what can be done to snap the financial helplines extended to Pakistan. Let me now quickly rope in my colleague Nikunj Garg to understand from him the significance of World Bank President Ajay Banga meeting Prime Minister Modi in times like now. Nikunj.
Significance of the visit lies in the timing, and even if it is a pre-scheduled, pre-planned meet, Government of India is going to leave no stone unturned on to convince the World Bank President that there is a need for the multilateral institution to work for world peace, and Pakistan, the global epicenter of terror, must be sent a message across by. It is equally the responsibility of the financial institutions that govern the global financial management systems as much as it is the responsibility of the International Committee of Nations. So therefore, India has made its intent clear that this time it will not stop at only the twin components of diplomacy and the military as far as offensive against Pakistan goes. It is certainly wanting to widen the arc, and one of the ways where it hurts the Pakistani elite the most is the financial squeeze on the country, because it is the Pakistani ruling establishment, the military, the civilian establishment, and other extensions of it that benefit most from these foreign subsidized loans. And it's the Awam of Pakistan which continues to suffer, as we have seen for the last close to 7+ decades. Therefore, the squeeze on the Pakistani establishment through the international multilateral organizations on the financial aspects of its functioning is also a very critical part of India's diplomacy, and I'm quite sure that the Prime Minister will take it up with the President of the largest financial multilateral institution in the country and also the largest loanee to Pakistan.
All right, Nikunj, we leave it there. Really appreciate you joining us to talk to us about the 360-degree effort being made by India to ensure that Pakistan feels the pinch of harboring global terrorists on its soil. In fact, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is in India to co-chair the 20th India-Iran Joint Commission meeting in New Delhi. This marks his first visit to India since assuming office in August last year. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar held talks with his Iranian counterpart I want to first play out that soundbite, come back and talk more about the significance, the timing of this.
Excellency, you are visiting India at a time when we are responding to a particularly barbaric terrorist attack on 22nd April in the Indian Union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. This attack compelled us to respond on 7th May by striking at cross-border terrorist infrastructure. Our response was targeted and measured. It is not our intention to escalate the situation. However, if there are military attacks on us, there should be no doubt that it will be met with a very firm response. As a neighbor and a close partner, it is important that you have a good understanding of the situation.
DP Srinivasav joins us to talk more about the significance, the impact of the timing of this visit, and also the messaging that has been sent out by Dr. Jaishankar in no uncertain terms. We don't want to escalate, but we will respond if there is a reaction and if there is an attack on us.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Dr. Arakchi is no stranger to India. Though it is his first visit as foreign minister, he was earlier foreign secretary, and I had the privilege of meeting him. I was the Indian ambassador there. And his visit to India comes at a time when both countries are looking for continued engagement. Dr. Arakchi is here to preside over Joint Commission meeting. There will be occasion, the two countries are engaged in Chabahar project. They are also engaged in International North-South Transit Corridor. So far as the regional situation is concerned, Iran, perhaps people in India may not be that well aware of, has itself been victim of terrorism sponsored from Pakistani soil. I served in Iran from 2011 to 14, and during my term, there were at least 14 attacks on Iranian forces, Iranian establishments by terror groups based in Pakistan. In 2019, this is just a day before Pulwama, there was a similar incident in which 27 guards, Iranian, this is a IRGC, Revolutionary Guards, were killed in a jihadi attack, and it was later discovered that he was a Pakistani national, and he rammed a jeep full of explosives into a bus carrying the IRGC personnel in Sistan, Balochistan province of Iran.
Yes.
It was almost an identical incident to Pulwama.
Yes.
So I'm sure that Iran is very well aware of the pain and the anguish India has over repeated terror attacks
Indeed.
by Pakistan and Pakistani-supported terrorists.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to slip into a break. I come back with lots more on the other side. Stay with us. Chinese President Xi Jinping welcomed by his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin on Thursday as part of a 4-day state visit. It coincides with Russia's Victory Day celebrations scheduled for 9th of May, marking the 80th anniversary of the defeat of the Nazi Germany in World War II. The meeting between the two leaders saw Putin attributing Moscow's and Beijing's strategic cooperation to the combat brotherhood that the two countries built during World War II. During Xi's visit, the leaders are expected to discuss a whole host of issues: ongoing conflict in Ukraine, energy cooperation, proposed power of Siberia to gas pipeline project. The pipeline would transport natural gas from western Russia to northern China, further solidifying the energy ties between the two countries. But today, we are going to talk about the larger message this meeting, this visit, these optics are set to present to the world, to India, and at a time when there are multiple uncertainties tensions around the world. Let me quickly now get across, before I cut in the guest joining me, let me quickly now take a look and bring you the big questions that we are asking. Is this the new phase of the Russia-China relationship? How does this alliance affect the Ukraine war that's currently on? Is a new global order now emerging with China at the helm along with Russia? Where does this leave America? What happens to India at a time like this, where China has also come out with a support to Pakistan during Operation Sindoor? Operation Sindoor is not over. What will China's position be on Pakistan isn't clear as yet. What is clear is that there is a possibility of a new world order emerging. Einar Tangent, who is a prominent voice, joins us from Beijing. Fred Weir, a senior journalist, joins us from Russia to talk more about the possibilities that this new relationship throws up. Einar, to you first. What is it that the Chinese president is hoping to achieve out of this visit?
Well, I mean, he's pursuing the same line that he has done for many, many years, and that is mutual cooperation. There's a long-standing economic cooperation, which has been growing at double digits. You mentioned earlier this new gas pipeline, and I would expect that there's going to be a whole host of new agreements signed on specific projects. And this is very, very different from, when the U.S. comes and they're asking for things as opposed to saying, let's make a deal.
Indeed. And clear to you, how do you see the fact that, what do you think, Fred, the Russian president would be hoping to achieve out of this visit?
Well, May the 9th is far and away the most important holiday on the Russian calendar. The military parade tomorrow, it will be, is a signal event. And the number of foreign leaders who attend is always a measure of Russia's international prestige. And of course, the most important one on the stand tomorrow will be President Xi. So this is, I mean, he's here. He's already had meetings in the Kremlin. I think it was President Xi who talked about a friendship of steel. And the noises, the initial comments out of the Kremlin are that this is an advance in the relationship. So that in itself is of great significance. It is an ongoing process, many years, many summits between Putin and the Chinese leadership have taken place, especially with President Xi, so this is ongoing. But they say it's reached a higher level, and it will be awfully important to see how the Americans respond to this, because any hopes that there are in Washington that you're going to drive a wedge between Moscow and Beijing do seem to have been thwarted by the atmosphere today.
There is no dearth of the kind of similes and adjectives that Russia and China are using to describe this relationship, whether it is about the strongest bond possible, whether it is about one of the best buddies, you name it. There are a gazillion such adjectives and similes that are there. But I want to understand from you, Einar, that in terms of the optics and messaging, this is a messaging to America, isn't it? At a time when America is putting forth an America first policy, whether it is in trade or is in geopolitics.
Well, yeah, I mean, Trump's attempts to impose a new world order, based around American hegemony, isn't working. It's faltered. Xi Jinping's visit to Moscow on this Remembrance Day is symbolic, as you pointed out, because it underlines the resistance to this Washington vision. In the U.S. perspective, they're concerned about a united front against Washington's attempts to create this new world order. The U.S. interprets Xi's diplomatic activities through the lens of strategic competition, viewing them as attempts to counter Washington's desires to reshape the world in its own image and impose this new political and economic order. And these visits are not isolated. Washington sees Xi's visits to Southeast Asia and other regions its moves to maintain the existing economic and political order around the UN, the WTO, the WHO, the ICC, all the institutions, ironically, that the US, in essence, created or started down the path, even if they didn't always join them. Ironically, Washington's main narrative is that China supports revisionist powers. And to a lot of people in China, it's the US who is trying to be revisionist.
The beauty of these three powers is that they say they are the only ones who are not revisionist, everybody else is. That's what China says, that's what Russia says, and that's what some of the other powers are also beginning to say. But let me get you, Fred, on this. There is now a very sympathetic, or at least a more sympathetic America when it comes to Russia than to China, isn't it? So what is the messaging that President Putin would like to give to President Trump right now?
I think that the Russians are in a bit of confusion about how to handle Trump, because he is very, very unpredictable. And they did have 4 years of experience before in previous Trump term, and that was, from the Russian point of view, a complete circus that ended up with relations being worse than ever. So they don't have high expectations, no matter how pleasant to their ears some of the things that are said in Washington seem to be. But I think what they want is a normalization of relations with the United States. They want to get along. They wouldn't mind American help in forging a peace settlement in Ukraine. But the messaging out of the meeting in the Kremlin today is that Russia is not going to do that at the expense of their relationship with China.
All right. As far as the last 3 years are concerned, and this is a question I put forth to both of you, which is that in the last 3 years, Russia-China relationship has undergone a huge change because of the sanctions that the Russian economy has been put forth on. This is now a war economy, and it functions the way a war economy does, where commodities, oil essentially drive it and not consumption. The fact that China now has the upper hand in this relationship, Einar, how do you think that is going to have an impact in terms of the relationship between the two leaders and the kind of roadmap that they're looking to set forth going forward?
Well, I think this idea of having the upper hand is a narrative that belongs to this kind of colonial tradition, last 600 years, whether you're either under me or you're over me. The fact is that China doesn't push an ideological anything on anybody else. So at this point, it is just about cooperation. China does not want to conquer Russia. It does not want to take lands if it far off places or annex areas that do not belong to them. They're very prickly about areas like Taiwan, which they believe are theirs and which international law recognizes theirs. But I think it would be a mistake to think this is about just these three players. India, also Europe, and a lot of other middle players, especially in BRICS and Turkey, are also involved. And in the end, there's going to be a peace in Ukraine, which is necessary for the world to function properly. It is going to take a lot of those players cooperating and guaranteeing. Remember, it was the Europeans who went back and admitted. They went back on the deals that they made with Russia to create peace, and openly said, "Yeah, we were just buying time." It's very hard to have negotiations with somebody who is being so honest about their dishonesty. So it's going to take more than that. Plus, U.S. cannot create a peace in Ukraine. They're not involved directly in the region. What Russia wants is security. They want to roll back all of these missiles and NATO sitting on their periphery and in essence threatening them. So as long as Europe doesn't want to have peace, it's going to be very, very hard, regardless of what Donald Trump wants or doesn't want.
It's interesting that you have a Chinese guest lecturing how Europe should try and get peace. That's, I think, the most rich part of this discussion. Well, the bottom line, viewers, really, as far as the China-Russia relationship is concerned, is that this is the third visit of President Xi Jinping ever since the Russia-Ukraine war started. And since then, a lot has changed. The trade relationship has changed. It's now the Chinese economy feeding into the Russian economy, given the fact that there are sanctions in place. It is also coming at a time when there is an America first approach that Donald Trump has. And in that, there is not a very sympathetic America when it comes to dealings with China. The trade aspect continues to be a bit of a concern. US-China trade dialogue will start in the next 24 hours. Russia has a more sympathetic America, but the larger message that they're both trying to send to President Trump is very clear, that you may be looking at an America first world, but there is more than that. Global order may be reshaping, but where will this go? What will be the larger impact on India is yet to be known. On that note, a quick break. We come back with more on the other side. Three-day ceasefire declared by President Putin has taken effect in Ukraine. This ceasefire has been announced by President Ukraine because it coincides with the Victory Day celebrations that marks the 80th anniversary of the World War II being won by Russia and the Allies. That Victory Day celebration and parade will take place on May 9th, and ahead of that, the ceasefire has been put in place. Well, guess what? The two sides that are fighting this war have different opinions about the ceasefire. Russia says that it has put in place a ceasefire, something that Ukrainians say it hasn't. In fact, Ukraine has also gone on to say the Russian forces have carried out hundreds of strikes along the front lines and dropped guided bombs on Ukrainian cities, killing and injuring civilians. The three-day ceasefire, timed around Russia's Victory Day commemoration, was unilaterally declared by President Putin last month. And when this ends, the war will start again. But the larger question is, if in a three-day ceasefire window, the two sides are not able to agree as to whether or not some hostilities have been brought down, then what are we looking at in terms of the possibility of a larger long-term ceasefire being in place for the two countries? Remember, all hostilities are back on the table. All possibilities of peace are right now off. What does it look like? Is the Russia-Ukraine war even headed towards any sort of a de-escalation or end of hostilities? We are yet to know. Let's quickly now get in the big questions on this, and then we get in the two guests. Fred Weir stays with us. Elena joins us to talk more about what is it that Ukraine is saying about it. How is it that a ceasefire, hostilities being halted for a three-day window, is being viewed differently by the two warring sides? Either there is a hostility in place or there is a stoppage to those hostilities for a brief period, isn't it, Fred? What is it that the two sides are now having a different opinion on?
Well, first of all, they're at war and they're very, very far apart in terms of what their war goals are. Certainly the attempts from Washington to try to forge some kind of a formula that might get a peace negotiation going have failed. This is clear. The previous ceasefire, one-day ceasefire, was declared by Putin. It doesn't seem to have been very successful. This one, of course, is connected with the Victory Day celebrations, which are tomorrow. There'll be this very prominent parade, military parade on Red Square, and it's very important to Russia. President Zelensky has made some veiled threats, saying things like, I can't guarantee the security of that parade. And indeed, in the past few days, the drone attacks, attempted drone attacks on Moscow have greatly ramped up. I live just in a village just west of Moscow, and we can sometimes hear the air battles taking place right over our heads. And apparently it has been much more intense the past couple of days. So Russia, I think in a self-interested way, wanted to declare that ceasefire in order to have a peaceful May the 9th. And probably the question is whether, despite the veiled threats, Ukraine would try to attack Red Square with so many foreign leaders. in place. I think that's unlikely, but that is, of course, what the fear is in Moscow.
Elena, what would you like to say on this?
It is very unfortunate. I cannot really hear you. However, I would like to describe the situation here in Kiev with regards to this short ceasefire that was announced by President Putin. As you know very well, Ukraine agreed on the proposal of the United States and offered itself to establish a ceasefire for at least 30 days, because the ceasefire should be established not for some symbolic dates, especially when it comes to the 9th of May, the day which Ukraine contributed a lot to the fight against the fascism during the Second World War. And of course, now it's time that Russian fascist regime should also stop killing Ukrainians. However, after the ceasefire was announced, Russia itself shoot several rockets to the territory of Ukraine in Sumy and Kharkiv Oblast. Several women were injured, several homes were destroyed. So Russia doesn't stick to its own promises, and this is another fact that shows that whatever deals are being cut with Russia, neither Ukraine nor the United States nor any other parties to any agreements with Russia could be rest assured that Russia will stick to its promises. Thus, currently, Ukraine hopes that this ceasefire would be prolonged because, this killing must stop. However, we understand that Russia is not seeking for true peace, and that's why, unfortunately, more Ukrainians might die in the next days.
Right. Okay. Now, the fact that the two sides do not agree that there is a cessation of hostilities or not itself proves how difficult getting a long-term solution to this is, isn't it, Fred? So, what are the odds that the world is actually going to see some sort of a long-term peace settlement here?
I think that there's probably going to be a lot more, sadly, more action on the battlefield in the coming months. The Russians have made it clear from the very beginning that they're not interested in just a ceasefire. What they want is to see the outlines of a roadmap to a lasting solution, a peace settlement that will stick. And they have made their war objectives very clear. So yes, I would agree that this 3-day ceasefire from Putin is it's just an opportunistic way of trying to get peace on his holiday. But in principle, there won't be any ceasefires that Russia will agree to until they've seen that blueprint for a permanent settlement, and it will have to respond to Russia's main war objectives for them to agree to it.
Elena, do you think that a ceasefire, cessation of hostilities, a peace settlement, whatever you may call it, anything that stops the attrition of people on both sides, do you think it's farther away than what it was maybe a month back, a month and a half back, when the Trump administration was geared towards finding some sort of a solution?
Again, I'm not sure what you're asking about. Again, if it comes to a ceasefire, we don't think that it will last. We do not think that there are currently any platform for Russia to stop its war. Most probably it will be conducting this war for at least this summer. However, we understand that both sides, not only Ukraine, but Russia as well, are running out of the resources. And moreover, Russian economy, though is still holding, it is not as strong as it used to be. It is very fortunate that the prices for oil go down, because these are the prices for the natural resources that fuels the war against Ukraine. So in general, we believe that this ceasefire will not last, but most probably at some point at the end of the year, there should be certain agreements, probably not a peace deal, but certain agreements that would decrease the aggressiveness of this war.
I'm going to end this because there's breaking news coming in. I want to reflect that. Shifting focus now to breaking news that's coming in on the broadcast. Indian Army Chief has met Prime Minister Modi. The meet comes amidst continued India-Pakistan tensions. Remember, Operation Sindoor is now truly under in second phase as Pakistan tried to hit at 15 military installations in India's northern and northwestern towns and states. Let's quickly get in Vishal Vivek to give us an update on this crucial meeting that comes in, as I said, at a time of India-Pakistan heightened tensions. Vishal, any update on what the meeting discussed? What were the takeaways of this meeting?
So we've been seeing a PM Modi meeting with all the top leaders in the country, be it the foreign secretary that happened about a few days ago, day before yesterday to be precise. So this meeting comes in the wake of the second phase of the Operation Sindoor. We all saw the attack, the preempt attack. So Pakistan had planned to attack 15 military installations inside Indian territory, to which India preempted and did this attack in the territory of Lahore. So this meeting could have revolved around that part. The details of the meeting are yet to be revealed, but this meeting happened right after the few details were revealed about the preemptive attack. So it could have revolved around that. So far, the details are scant, as I mentioned, but there have been a series of meetings that the PM has conducted with the top brass of the country, be it the Foreign Secretary, be it the Defense Minister, be it the Home Minister. There have been several parleys in the last 3 to 4 days. So it all could have revolved around the Pahalgam attack, the immediate aftermath, and also what could be done after this. The phase 2 of Operation Sindoor has just finished. Will there be another phase that will probably have been discussed?
We leave it there, Vishal. Thanks much for giving us all those details. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Global. Thanks so much for watching.